Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another episode of Triple Play. Today we're going to talk about 3 films by Robert Hossein, and these happen to be in a box set recently released by Radiance called Wicked Games. These films, Nude in a White Car, The Wicked Go to Hell, and The Taste of Violence. These are 1955 to 1961. There's Robert Hossein as a Central American in The Taste of Violence. They're all on their own disc, which is quite nice. And you get a nice booklet, as you would expect from Radiance. This is another wonderful box set. And there's the other 2 films. There's tons of extras, as you would expect as well. Again, the other 2 films, Nude in a White Car and The Wicked Go to Hell, both get their individual disc as well. These are wonderful films, but perhaps not necessarily for the reasons you'll think. The 3 of them are genre films, but Hossein, who was primarily an actor, he's got like 113 credits or something, but he made a few films as well, and he does have a really distinctive eye. So, as I said, these 3 are genre films. A Taste of Violence is a French western set in Central America during a revolution. Hussein's French, the leading lady is Italian, and it has that kind of strange sort of atmosphere about it, as kind of, where is this actually set? The Wicked Go to Hell is a prison film, and Nude in a White Car is a kind of Hitchcockian man and 2 women who look very similar. One who can walk and one who can't walk. But Hossein does kind of take those, certainly with 2 out of the 3 films, you have kind of the first half of the film being more genre staples, but then he kind of turns them into existential pieces, which are quite surprising and quite striking. I think these are 2K restorations, and the black and white cinematography looks absolutely gorgeous. So you have Taste of Violence, which again is the western with Hossein, co-starring Mario Adorf, who's like one of the most underrated actors of all time. I think he's got like some 200 credits or something. So there's Adorf there in actual fact. So these 3 guys who are part of the revolution take the president's daughter hostage, and it becomes a road movie essentially, as the 3 of them cross the country with the president's daughter. Now initially Hossein kind of wants to get a ransom for her and to free 50 of their comrades from prison, but Adorf kind of wants just to sell her or give her back for money. He's not as politicised as Hossein is. And then the third member is a kind of young idealistic kid who's kind of caught between the two, and he falls for the daughter's charms. I mean, who wouldn't? So again, the first half of the film is fairly standard, but then the second half, it does become this kind of existential drama between the four characters. There's wonderful camera movements in the latter part of the film. There's a scene where Hossein and the women are, well, he's standing and she's sitting, and then there's lots of these wonderful zooms and pans and zoom outs that don't really do anything apart from they're just absolutely quite beautiful and wonderful. And again, it just takes on this almost metaphysical aspect of the film. Because these are relatively low budget films, all three of them have kind of smallish casts. The battle scenes in A Taste of Violence are generally off screen and we see the bodies. You know, as if Hossein didn't really want to show battle scenes, because as we know, battle scenes can, to certain people, become exciting and alluring, and then that undercuts the whole point of the films. You know, this is not to glorify violence, this is to show that violence is terrible and war is generally pointless, and certainly in things like revolutions, as you know, Rod Steiger's character says in Once Upon a Time, a revolution, you know, it's always the poor people that get the brunt of revolutions and of wars itself. So it's just a beautiful little film, especially the second half. It kind of reminds me a little bit of those Monty Hellman westerns, Shoot the Whirlwind, I always get the title wrong, and to a lesser extent the shooting, you know, just wandering through this landscape, and lots of existential stuff going on. So The Taste of Violence is absolutely wonderful. As I said, it's a 2K restoration. You get a commentary from 2025 with Tim Lucas. You get a 7-minute introduction and appreciation by Alex Cox. So you know it must be good if Alex Cox likes it. From 2025. You get an interview with C. Courtney Joyner on the Taste of Violence and the Zapata Western subgenre, because it's kind of a Zapata film, I guess, from 2025, which is 26 minutes. And you get a trailer. So despite the French and Italians playing Central Americans, because it's never actually explicitly said it's Mexico, but yeah, it becomes a whole, well, maybe not a whole different film in the second half, but it just has a lot of fascinating things going on in the second half that makes it absolutely wonderful and a must see, especially those slow pans and zooms that just take on a whole life of their own. And then we have The Wicked Go to Hell and Nude in a White Car. So again, The Wicked Go to Hell starts off as kind of a standard prison film. Hossein is in this one as well, well, he's in all three, but he's got a smaller role in this one because again this is a game of two halves as well, essentially. So it starts off, a prisoner gets executed, and in his last cigarette there's a little note that Hossein then taps out in Morse code in the pipes in the prison, that one of two people is a rat one of two people is a snitch, and they share a cell, which is handy. So these two characters absolutely hate each other, and everybody else hates them as well, because one of them is allegedly a snitch. So we have the kind of usual prison trappings. We have a guard who, tries to be a little bit human to them. Spoiler alert, the two of them escape, even though they hate each other's guts. And they end up again pretty much in the middle of nowhere on the beach, and there's a beach house shared by an artist, a painter, and a young lady played by Hussein's wife at the time, who spent 5 years together, had children, but then broke up because it was just too intense. Marina Vladi, she's in both these films, and it becomes, it might as well be like an apocalypse film, because it is literally just these 4 people essentially on a desert island, even though they're just at the beach in the middle of nowhere to get away from the police forces who are chasing the escaped convicts. And it becomes something completely different again, the same way that the taste of violence becomes something different in the second half. And again, it's just wonderful, looks beautiful, black and white cinematography, and again, Hussein's eye. I'm going to have to try and find more of his films, because his eye for a shot is pretty spectacular. Great performances, and again, it's a film that starts as one thing and then becomes something else in the second half. So I'd say these two films are the best films in the set. The third one, Nude in the White Car, is still good, but it's not quite as good as the other two. So this stars Hossein, who is walking in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night, and a white car picks him up basically, and the young woman doesn't seem to have many clothes, and they end up having a bit of a getting to know you session, and then she chucks him out of the car at gunpoint. He then kind of wanders about, and again kind of comes to this house where there's two sisters who are kind of look very similar. One played by Marina Vladi. Her character can't walk, she's in a wheelchair, she's got polio, and the other character can walk, straight enough. And it becomes, is Eva, who has polio, does she really have polio? Can she actually walk? Is Helene, her sister, trying to drive her mad? Which one's actually in love with Hossein? Which one's Hossein in love with? What's the deal basically? So this is the one film out of 3 that doesn't take a gentle left turn into another sort of film. I guess if you want to be kind of reductive about it, you can say this is Hitchcockian, just because it's two women who kind of look fairly similar. Again, it's an interesting little film. It's a fun little film, but it doesn't come up to the other two, because the other two are absolutely fantastic. But it's still a good film, don't get me wrong. And again, these two films have tons of extras as well. Again, both 2K restorations. Tim Lucas does commentary on each again from 2025. And then Picking Strawberries, a newly created making of featurette with historian Lucas Balbo, featuring archive interviews with Hossein and Jean Rollin, or Jean Rollin even, from 2025 for 15 minutes. Behind Marked Eyes, a cinematic stare of Robert Hossein, a newly created featurette by Howard S. Burger about Hossein and his work from 2025, which is 27 minutes, which is fantastic. There's an interview with Marina Vladi from 2014, which is 9 minutes, which talks about her relationship with Hossein. And then there's a lovely little 17-minute piece by Sam Dane on the evolution of the femme fatale in classic French cinema, and there's trailers as well. So that's Nude in a White Car and The Wicked Go to Hell. Again, two more wonderful Hossein films, but for me the stars of the show are A Taste of Violence and The Wicked Go to Hell, just for giving you something that you're familiar with, but then taking it a little bit on a left turn, and they're all the better for it. So that's 3 more Radiance films you can check out, and I would highly recommend in this other lovely little box set from Radiance. So please let me know if you've seen these 3 films, or what other Robert Hossein films I should try and get my hands on. Hopefully Radiance might release another box set of his, who knows. So this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying thanks so much for watching, and farewell.